One of the main things I do to make my MIDI drums sound realistic is to use a technique called layering. To be more specific, we're going to be talking about layering ghost notes on the snare drum and on the hi-hat. So to demonstrate all of this, I've loaded up a session in Logic Pro. You can use any DAW you like, but you're going to need to have access to a drum sample library. And not every single DAW includes one by default. If you're using Logic or GarageBand, you have Drum Designer to work with, which will get the job done, but it doesn't have as many articulations as Slate drums, for example. That's what I'll be using today. And you can also check out Superior Drummer. That's another fantastic plugin, but work with what you got. All right, so first thing you need to know about me is I don't record or I don't program my MIDI using mouse and a keyboard. I actually perform my parts with a MIDI keyboard. Even if the time is not perfect, you can always quantize it. But the thing is, you can never replicate the dynamics of a real instrument with a mouse and a keyboard. You gotta play your parts, and it's like tip number one to get a realistic sounding drum kit is to actually perform the part. Now, I like to separate the parts because, I'm not a genie, so I'm gonna just record the kick and snare on one track. I'm gonna record the hi-hat on another track, and sometimes I even record toms on a separate track as well. So, let's get started with the kick and snare drum. Okay, wasn't perfect, but look at this. It's quantized, and let's hear what it sounds like now. Nice. So it's funky, it's bouncy, we've got a nice foundation. So now I'm going to be recording just a basic quarter note hi-hat pattern and an eighth note hi-hat pattern. The quarter note one's going to be used to add ghost notes to. And another thing that's important with the hi-hat is you're going to want to have access to at least two different hi-hat sounds. One is going to be the shaft of the stick for the accents, and the other one's going to be the tip of the hi-hat for the ghost notes. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Drum Designer doesn't have both, so you'll have to make do with what you have, but ideally you should be using two different sounds for the accent and the ghost note part. So let's get that going. Sorry if you guys are hearing some weirdness. I'm experiencing just a little bit of latency, which is probably why this happened, but now it's all good. Okay, so I'm going to move that to the side. I'm going to copy this. All right, and now I'm going to record the eighth note pattern. Made a little mistake again, so I'm just gonna correct that quick. Quantize those hi-hats and just delete them over here. That's a quick tip if ever you guys make the same mistake. So let's hear what that sounds like. Alright, it swings. So, the first thing we're going to work on is layering those ghost notes on the snare drum part. So now, most sample libraries will have your rim shot, the center of the snare, the side snare, which is in between the center and the rim, and the snare plus a rim shot. But for our ghost notes, we're going to be using side snare. And while you're tracking your ghost notes, you want to perform them at, you know, kind of like you're accenting them, which sounds weird, I know, but we're going to be selecting those notes and lowering them manually afterwards, the velocity, because if you actually try to record them at the amplitude of a ghost note, it's not going to work out very well because most MIDI keyboards aren't that sensitive, and you're going to have difficulty getting each note to sound even. So the thing you're really focusing on is getting the notes to sound even, and you want to create a clear pattern. So I'll show you guys what that sounds like. So here it is. Alright, was not fantastic, but this should fix things. There you go. Sounds a million times better already. So the first thing we're going to do is going to bring this down. I usually go in between 10 and 20 for the velocity. Let's see what it sounds like at 10. Alright, not bad. I think I'm going to bring it up just a little bit because some notes are getting a bit lost. So just fine tweak everything until you get a sound that you're satisfied with. So that's what it sounds like for the snare drum. Let's move on to the hi-hat. So remember, for this part, we're going to be using the tip of the stick if you have that articulation. So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, was not fantastic, but let's quantize that. And I think I'm going for something a little bit straighter on the hi-hat, so I'm going to pull that down, see what that sounds like. Alright, don't be afraid to experiment with the swing and, you know, kind of like layering actually different levels of swing, because that can really make your groove come out like it would have never come out if you just quantized everything, you know, to like straight 16th notes. So that's another tip to make your drums sound even more realistic, is, you know, to make them swing. So one thing I forgot to do is actually we're going to bring these down similar to the snare drum, but I usually go somewhere around 20 for the hi-hat because it's obviously a bit less loud than a snare drum. So this is what it sounds like. Yeah. Bernard Purdie style, all right? And if you want to hear what both of them sound like together, this is what you got. Bad, right? Sounds a million times better than it did at the beginning. And since you guys stuck around till the end, I'm going to show you a really cool plugin that'll take your drums to even the next level, and it's called Wolf Compressor. If you haven't heard of this guy, well, you're going to hear what it sounds like now. Actually, I'm going to just load up one of my favorite presets, make some little adjustments. And, ooh, that's a little bit too much actually. There we go. This is what it sounds like now. All right. So that's basically the final product. If you guys want to hear what this sounds like in, inside an actual track, I'll put some links to some of my music, you know, in the description, so you can check those out to see what it actually sounds like in the mix once it's been mastered. and you'll see like the drums sound a million times better when you work with dynamics, when you work with swing, and obviously when you start adding some ghost notes. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you have any requests for any particular videos you'd like me to make, leave those as well. I'd love to help you guys out, you know, with anything specific you're looking for. And the best way to stay in touch with me is to subscribe to this channel. I'll be posting, you know, tutorials just like this pretty frequently. And yeah, if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, and hopefully I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Go make some music.